So without further ado, everybody, Ray Grant is going to be presenting his on the Mineralogy of Arizona, the 4th edition. It's all yours, Ray.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, it came yesterday in the mail, the author's copy, so it's finally here in my hand. And people have been able to order it for quite a while, and I think they're going to start shipping it soon. But we have a special event, I'll tell you at the end of the talk, where you'll be for sure be able to get one in Tucson. So we'll go to the next slide. So I just wanted to, you're changing slides, right? Yep. Thank everybody. Ron Gibbs is one of the authors, and he did a lot of work on this PowerPoint. The other authors, sort of a motley crew, we happen to all be together this January. John Callahan, when you see what he's done, the maps and illustrations, it's amazing. All the people at the University of Arizona Press, reviewers, editors, indexers, etc., all those people that worked on it. And we had people donate to the University of Arizona Press to help us to, publish this thing. And I have to say a special thanks to Freeport McMoran, because they were the major donor to this project. So thank you to them. Okay, next. And I just want to acknowledge the rough project at the university. Without that, we wouldn't have a lot of the information we have. Those people are incredible. They've been working on Arizona minerals for some years now, and a lot of the new data is because of having that project available to us in the state of Arizona. Next. Just a little bit about the history of it, and then we'll go on. Talk about the new edition. So here's a dozen or so publications. Now there's thousands of publications about Arizona minerals, but these are the ones that actually list the number of minerals that have been found at the state at various times. And I'll go through each of these just briefly. So we'll go on. And we have a graph. The first was 14 minerals in 1866. And in 2022, we have 992 in this edition, although we already have more because, the number of minerals that's found is constantly being added to. But, we had to publish it sometime. So we got to 992. Next. So the first one was William Blake. He made a list of California minerals, and he added on the end 14 from Arizona. And that's the first list I can find.
Bingo.
For Arizona minerals. And he was a professor then at the University of Arizona, 1895, 1909. He was a territorial mineralogist. Can you imagine that? There was actually a territorial mineralogist. And he made the first sort of official list of Arizona minerals in a report to the governor. Next. So this is what his looked like. He had 102 different minerals. And you can see it's a report to Governor Kirby back in 1909. I think that Blake was quite a character. If you do a little research on him, you'll find that out. Okay, next. Frank Gill was also at the University of Arizona, and I think Blake passed away right early 1910, I think. So Guild was then the head of the Department of Geology and Mineralogy, and he published a year after Blake, but he privately published it. You can see it's a chemical publishing company in Easton, Pennsylvania, and he had 130 minerals, and he acknowledged some of Blake's, but he didn't include all of them. So I have a feeling that Guild and Blake were somewhat competitive about their projects on making lists of Arizona minerals. Of course, we'll never know. Okay, next. Then the more modern mineralogies of Frederick Galbraith. He was again a professor at the university, curator of the Mineral Museum, and he had 3 editions. And while I was researching him, I found that he was vice president of this group, the Arizona Geological Society, for field trips in 1955. And he was president of the Arizona Geological Society in 1956. So I thought I'd throw that in for the members of the society. Okay, next. And here are his publications. The first one, 1941, he had 267 minerals. He had a revised edition, 47, with 284. And in 1953, with Brennan, he printed the third edition, sort of 377 minerals. That was reprinted without any changes in 1970, and you can still find this publication on the Arizona Geological Society, on their website. You can get it. And hard to find pictures of Galbraith. I found this picture of him in the newspaper getting an award from service in the war. And next. Arthur Flagg, somebody in Phoenix, mining engineer, Department of Mines and Mineral Resources. He started the Mineralogy Society of Arizona and several of the other foundations, and he was the curator of the Mineral Museum there. Next. And his publication was Mineralogical Journeys. And so it was really stories about all the places he went around Arizona finding minerals. But in the end, he had a variety of kinds of different lists, including a complete list of what he thought was in Arizona, 418 minerals. Next. I published a couple of checklists, one in 82, 605 minerals with the Mineralogical Society. And then in 2007, trying to update the last edition, 869 minerals. And that was published by the Arizona Department of Mines. Next. So we come to the editions that we're really following along, the first, second, and third editions. The authors of the first two were John Anthony, Sid Williams, Richard Bedeau. And then because of their generosity, they added me on to the third edition. And many of you probably still remember these people. They all were in Phoenix. John was a professor at the U of A. Sid Williams worked for Phelps Dodge, and then he had his own consulting service. And of course, Richard was well known in around mining people in Tucson. Next. So the first edition in 1977, you can see how many minerals there are. And the second edition, 1983. The second edition is the one that's pictured. What it really said at the time was revised reprinting, and they just added the extra minerals in the back. But somewhere along the line, that became the third edition. And then the second edition, excuse me. And then the third edition is pictured there on the right, where they added Ray Grant on. Next. So now we come to the fourth edition. We've dedicated it to those three people because it was their work that really got it going. And of course, a large part of their work is still in this edition. Next. Here are the authors, as were mentioned: myself, Ron Gibbs, Harvey Jong, Jan Rasmussen, and Stan Keith. John Callahan, you'll see, did the illustrations and the maps. We don't have his picture. Next. So in this edition, we have 992 species. 233 were added since the last edition, the third edition. Type minerals, those are minerals that the first place they've been found is in the state of Arizona. So there are 87 of those. It's been 27 years, a long time. And we've added quite a number, 300 plus color photographs to this edition. Next. There's an introduction, new chapters. Chapter 1, there's gemstones, nothing like that in the old editions. The fluorescent minerals, and it's a new chapter. Chapter 3 is the basis of the whole text, and that's includes the material from the earlier editions plus all the new information. And then something really unique, I think, the chapter 4, the Arizona mineral districts and the appendices. Next. In the introduction, we have something about the history, which I've covered, of course, the state symbols and the public mineral collections. Relatively short introduction. State symbols. Next. We have a state fossil, but it's really a mineral. It's quartz. I mean, petrified wood is quartz. So the state fossil is also a mineral. We have a state gemstone turquoise, and we have a state mineral wolfenite. Next. We've discussed places where you could actually go to see a lot of these minerals. Of course, the University of Arizona Alfie Norville Museum, Mineral Museum, Sonora Desert Museum, and the Bisbee Mineral and Historical Museum. We do have something about the potential for the new Natural History Museum in Phoenix, which of course is not operating yet. Next. So chapter 1 is about gemstones and lapidary, because a lot of people, we're trying to cover a range of different interests. Tremendous number of lapidarists, people cutting and polishing. And so went through and picked out the most important of the things from Arizona, a little bit about them and where they were found, and some of the history of the lapidary stuff going back over the years. It's set up by mineral, so azurite, and then each of the succeeding minerals that people have used. Next, here's pictures of some of the more important things. Of course, fire agate, gem chrysocolla, and then peridot, which is really a true Arizona gemstone as far as I'm concerned. Okay, next. And one of the things, we have no real true, the real gemstones, the rubies, the sapphires, the emeralds, the diamonds. There is a ruby #1 claim, which this is out of the text in there, near Kingman, and there are crystals there. Unfortunately, they're not really red, so I think calling them rubies would be a shot. But in the chapter, I've put places that I thought people might need to look for. So Galbraith has in his text, blue, red, and white corundum in a pegmatite dike. Well, blue corundum is called sapphire and red corundum is called ruby. So I thought, well, who knows? I tried to look this place up, and it's really remote on the north rim of the canyon, what little bit I can find about it. And I'm afraid that that's a place I'm never going to get to, but I put it in there. Maybe some, really person has some time to go really out in the back, can go try to find these colored corundums. Okay, next. So we have a chapter now, fluorescent minerals. If you went to the Tucson show this year, you saw the incredible fluorescent mineral exhibits. There's lots and lots more interest among collectors about fluorescent minerals. And so in this chapter, there's a description of fluorescence, how it works, why minerals are fluorescent, the different things that cause them to fluoresce. And then on the right, you see short wave, medium wave, long wave, and those things are explained. Next is a list of the minerals from Arizona that we have found that we're sure are fluorescent. I'm sure there are others, but lots of them probably have never really even been checked. And then next, a few pictures of some fluorescent minerals. Coals of fire is a calcite from the Montana mine in Ruby, and it was commercially sold for quite a while as a fluorescent material. And it was sold as coals of fire, and you can see how it fluoresces, where that name came from. Okay, next. Cryptite is a pegmatite mineral, lithium mineral, alteration of spodumene. And we have a couple of localities in Arizona, and quite an unusual mineral, so a good thing. Next. And then finally, in the chapter, things that fluorescent collectors now are looking for, rocks that have 2 different colors, 3 different colors, 4 different colors, 5 different colors. So there's a picture, not great the way I copied it, of 5 different colors. So there's, willemite and calcite and hydrozincite and powellite, and I'm not even sure what the 5th one is, but fluorescent collectors are really anxious to try to get rocks that have as many different fluorescent colors in them as possible. Okay, next. So chapter 3 is the real basis of the mineral of the book. It's the 992 minerals that have been reported from Arizona. They're listed by county, and we've added photographs of a lot of these minerals in this edition. Next. So this is the way it appears for each mineral. This is apatite. We have the chemistry, and I think you'll see as I go on. To me, the chemistry is one of the things that's important. You know, it's a copper mineral, lead mineral, zinc mineral. A little bit about the occurrence of the mineral, and then by county. And the key thing here is that we have Dripping Springs Mountains, Banner Super System, Christmas District. And we've gone to these mineral districts, and I'll be talking quite a bit more about that as we go on. But this is the way each of the 992 minerals, appears in the text. Okay, next. And just to show you wolfenite, you can see Graham County, you can see La Paz County, you can see Maricopa County, et cetera, and some of the photographs that we have. Okay, next. There are 233 new species. Just to put a few up, bobmeyerite, rallyite, nice people named one Ray Grantite, and ice. The list that we make is based entirely on the International Mineralogical Association list. If it's a valid mineral on their list, it's a valid mineral in our text. If they do not consider it a valid mineral, we're not putting it in, and I'll talk more about that in the appendices. And they've gone ahead and listed ice now as a mineral in the IMA list. It's something they've added fairly recently, so we've added it to our list also. Next. So the big question is, what localities are we going to put in here? I've been looking at wolfenite for a long time. It's the Arizona state mineral, and I'm sure that we have over 300 localities for wolfenite. Well, we'd need a whole book just to cover that. Maybe we will have one sometime, and that'd be something I'd think about working on. But what localities will we keep? Well, our first criteria was that there was a published reference to the mineral, to the occurrence. And so we have literally thousands of publications or a biography list at the end of the book, because we wanted people to be able to go look up the original information. We just have this short listing. It occurs at this mine, but we then give the reference that you can go to look up if you want to find out more about it. So the first priority was that there was a published reference to that particular mineral. The second thing was there are personal communications where someone has supplied the information about the mineral, and as long as they verify that they did X-ray work or Raman, or they convinced us that it was a valid identification, then we included that and put it as a personal communication. And one of the things that I really wanted to do was to have some kind of a reference for every mineral occurrence in there. And in the third edition, we didn't. In the third edition, the previous authors, decided that anything that was supplied by an author would not be given a reference. So we have these things, so we don't know. I don't know if Beddoe did it or Williams did it. It said Williams did a lot of them. So in this edition, I've just put third edition. So if there's an occurrence, wolfenite at the Jones mine, and it says third edition, that means that it was listed in the third edition, and probably, one of the authors submitted it, but, I have no way of following up. I've gone back and tried to look in the old manuscripts, and I haven't been able to find that. And then also, Galbraith didn't put references or sources for most of his material. So if we have something from Galbraith that we didn't find anywhere else, we put bulletin 181. So there's either a reference, a person's name, third edition, or bulletin 181. And so every occurrence in there now has at least some idea about where the information came from. Okay, next. And then, of course, there's problems with mine names. Any of you that are involved in mining or something, that these mines have endless names. Here's an example: Hematite, Middle Camp District, That's the mineral district. The Big Bertha Extension Mine, Crystal Caverns, Veta Grande. Those are all names. And the problem is that people have these specimens in their collections and they have all these different names on there. So we've tried to at least include the most common names that have been used, because people have a specimen and they want to look up something more about it, where it came from. They may not have the same mine name on the specimen that other people have on their specimens, or that we even have in the text. So I mean, I've come to some of these places where there might be 8 or 9 names. Each person that takes over the claim or the mine, puts their name on it. So sometimes that can be a problem. Next. And then finally, we come to chapter 4. The older references for mineral occurrences use the mining district names, and the mining districts are historical. You can go back and get, the survey has a map, mining district names for all the mine districts. And they were based on politics and history and location and stuff. And then in 1983, Stan Keith and the other et al. Published a bulletin on the mineral districts in Arizona. So they called them that to distinguish them from the mining districts. And so it's bulletin 194, and you can find that online too. And so next, so Stan has done most of the work, and Jan on this chapter. They've talked about where the minerals in Arizona came from. How did we get them? The history of it. So some basic geology. And you can see some of the diagrams that I showed that, John Callahan did a really good job. Subduction zone, igneous rocks, and the mines associated with these different kinds of geological occurrences. Okay, next. And they have some summary chapters or tables. So this is table 4.1, and it's summary of every mountain building episode in the state. And you can look at it. You can see the name, you can see the years when it occurred millions of years ago. You can see a little bit about the kind of elements, potassium, uranium, gold, silver, whatever. A little bit about the districts or places you might find it, and then some of the various minerals that occur. And again, I think, collectors would be able to look on here and have an idea about kinds of minerals that they might find in certain districts. So we'll see when we go on and look at the maps. And next is another table they have, the orogenies, and similar, but much more detailed, very lengthy table. So you can see I put the part of the laramide there, early, middle, and late laramide. Tells you the years, tells you the kind of igneous rocks, and we'll see more about that. The various elements, copper, molybdenum, what you might find, the mines, the places where these occur, and then finally the minerals. So we're trying to tie the minerals back to the basic geology, to the mountain building, to the igneous activity, to the formation of all these different minerals. Why do we have 992 different minerals in the state of Arizona? And so that's really what this is about. Okay, next. I just put this in a really good, one of the figures about, how did we get so many of these different minerals, and the whole story, of course, about supergene enrichment and the primary chalcopyrite, and then all these other minerals that you can get as the chalcopyrite breaks down, due to the weathering and effect of groundwater and water movement. Again, this is a John Callahan. He's done a really good job on these diagrams. Next. Okay, so we have 6 appendices. I'm going to talk about the 7th is the photography credits. We didn't put too much information in the text with the photograph, but you can go to the end and you can look at each photograph, the figure number, and you can see whose specimen it is if we knew, and you can see who took the photograph. So that's what the photography credits are. So next is the maps of the mineral districts. And next, there we go. Anyway, so in the third edition, we did put this in. This is a map that you would have come out in, back in the 1980s when these mineral districts were first, proposed. So here's Cochise County. Here are the mineral districts. We put this in the third edition, the last edition. At the end, we put this series of maps. But we didn't really make an effort at the time to take the mineral data and correlate it with the districts. And of course, you can see essentially they're the names of the districts, and you might have some idea about where they're located. So I felt that these maps weren't real critical the way they were, and we needed to do something, and that's Stan and Jan came. And so if we look at the next figure. So here it's kind of small, but in the book you'll see here's Cochise County in the fourth edition. And if you look on the right-hand side, you can see there's all kinds of information about the geology, the kind of igneous rock that occurs there. There's information about the elements that are found at that mine, and there's information about the age of the mineralization. So if you go to the next one, it's a close-up to give you a better idea. So for each district, you can see Cerro Colorado, MAC is tells you about the igneous rocks that are found there, metaluminous, alkalic, calcic. The major commodities for that district are silver and lead, and the mineralization occurred 76, 74 million years ago. And the information is the best information that's available today. Some of this, of course, can potentially change. But if you're going to that district, if you're interested in that district, this already tells you kinds of minerals you might look for, silver and lead minerals, tells you something about the age and a little bit about the geology. And one of the ways I figure you can use this, especially collectors, if you go to the next slide. So here's Maricopa County. I just put it in, but if you look sort of down towards the bottom, you see Painted Rock. And Painted Rock is where the Raleigh mine is. One of those pictures I had back there earlier was a wolfenite from the Raleigh mine. So if we go to the next slide, it's a little bit closer. So the Raleigh mine's in the Painted Rock Mineral District. It's MQA, that's the geology. It has lead, copper, silver, manganese, et cetera, and 18 to 15 million years old. Well, if you look just above there, there's a Webb district. Webb district is also MQA. It's also probably 18 to 15 million years old, and copper, gold, silver. Well, I know nothing about the Webb district. I've never heard of it. I don't know anything about any mines in there. But if I was a collector and I was serious about trying to get out and find some new localities, I'm thinking, well, the Painted Rock District has all this really neat stuff. I mean, there's a long, long list of minerals from the Raleigh mine. Maybe there's mines in the Webb District that would have similar mines. Maybe I need to go there and explore. So my premise is that you can use this to try to potentially see places where you might go to look for other minerals, for different minerals. And of course, if you have an idea about, a mine from the text, you can at least, get an idea about the age and a lot more information. And so I'm hoping that collectors will be interested in more than just having a pretty rock on the shelf, that they'll be actually interested in the geology and the origin and why these things are there. And potentially, I think, exploration geologists, this tremendous amount of information that I think Stan and Jan are working on expanding it greatly to get it out to the public. Okay, next. In Appendix B, we've just listed the 233 new minerals that were not in the last edition, in case anybody happens to be interested in that. The blue ones are the ones that were first found in Arizona since the third edition. Okay, next. And we've put a list of all 992 minerals, and I'm not sure who came up with the little box. I guess if you want to collect all 992 minerals found in Arizona, then you can check it off on a little box that you have it in your collection, which I don't think anybody will ever get all the way. But anyway, that's the idea. So you can look real quick to see if it occurs in the state without paging through all the text to look at it. And then if it's not on the list, you don't have to go look further in the text to see it. And next. We do have a special section. The type minerals are kind of unique because there are things that, you know, were first found here. And so people are pretty proud of that. So there have been 87 minerals that of the 5,000 or so minerals that exist that have been found first in the state of Arizona. Going way back, spanglite was one of the first things from 1890. Ruizite, named after Joe Ruiz, from 1977. And then one of the new ones, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, in 2019. So you can see that, you know, constantly people have been working on trying to identify what we have. And as they try to identify what they have, we find new things that, you know, haven't been found here before. Okay, and next. And then since we're following the IMA list, we've had to take some minerals off that maybe, you know, are things that are possible. Duhamellite is one of Sid Williams' mineral, and somebody's written a paper saying it's bismuth-rich montramite. So it's been discredited. So we had to take it off, but it was in the last editions. So we put it in this appendix. So if there's something that was in the last edition like this that you can't find, you could go in this appendix and at least find, you know, some of the more important ones. There was once a mineral named Arizonaite that they discredited. I think we got gypped on it. I think there should be Arizonaite, but who knows? Wolframite, some of the minerals became groups. You know, and before we had the plagioclase feldspars, and we had all the different names, you know, albite and andesine and oleoclase, and now there's just, they've shortened it down, so there's just two end members. So whatever the IMA list had, that's what we used. And if they didn't include the name, but we thought it was something people might be using or familiar with, we put that name in this appendix. Okay, next. And in the last few years, the IMA has really expanded the whole thing about organic minerals. For a long time, there was a lot of controversy about whether these things should be really minerals or not, or, you know, when does something become a mineral? When can you say this is, you know, the thing that we want to call a mineral? So a lot of work at the Raleigh mine. You can see this long list of organic minerals. And where do they come from? Well, they come from the reaction of the solutions, the water solutions dissolving, you know, the different ore minerals and things, and bat guano. So the bat guano is the source of the organic material. So they've all been accepted. They're all official names. So we've added them on. They're part of our new list. And the IMA, you know, it's there. Again, we're trying to follow their standards. Their whatever they say is valid. So next, just a couple more. The first natural glycolate was found in the Santa Catalina Mountains. So it's a copper mineral. So somehow there were some glycolate solutions that reacted with some copper minerals and formed this, you know, this new mineral. So very unusual. That's the first one ever found, and it was found right there on in one of the little copper prospect in the Santa Catalina Mountains. And then turns out that saguaro cacti have actually quite a few minerals. There are actually crystals in there. And when they die, Lawrence Garvey at the ASU has done a lot of work on these minerals. When they die, all kinds of alterations of the various minerals are associated with saguaro cacti. So there's a long list that he's made. So these are all organic minerals. They're part of our 992 minerals, and kind of a new area of research that people have been working on. Okay, next. So we're going to the U of A Press is having a book launch celebration on Saturday, June 25th, 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock. They're going to open the Alfie Norville Museum. And if you haven't been there, you need to go. It's a world-class, incredible. And they're going to have books for sale. And we're planning right now to have all 5 authors there to sign books for people who want to have a signed book. If you buy a book, you get 2 free admissions to the museum. The paperback book is $49.95. It's 726 pages, 23 pages, a big book. And you get 2 $15 admissions to the museum. So it's a smoking deal. And they'll have hardcovers. Hardcovers are more. If you go to the University of Arizona Press website, you can find more information if you need it about this big event. So I will be there on Saturday, June 25th in Tucson. If you have questions about the book, anything, it's a real chance for you to come, and because the authors will be there, and I'm not sure how often that'll happen. So that would be a good thing for you to do. And then I have one more advertisement. It's a long story, but somehow I've ended up having a geology and mineral museum in Coolidge, Arizona. Very unlikely place, but it's pretty fantastic, I think. You go to our website, PennellGeologyMuseum.org, and you'll be able to see all the variety of things we have there. You can see we have some dinosaurs and some really great mineral specimens collections. There's a little exhibit of the state mineral wolfenite up there on the top right that's in there. So I welcome you if you happen for any reason to be passing around Coolidge. Summer, we're really not going to be open much, just on Fridays, but come September, we'll probably be open most days of the week. You can go to our website and find out for sure, when we're open. So not a problem to do that. And if you have any, like to help us donate, I'm out looking for donations to help us continue to run it. It's free. We have a lot of stuff for kids. And so if you have any ideas about fundraising, volunteering to help, please just contact me. You can find the information on the website. And I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray. That was really an excellent presentation. So thank you for taking the time to address the Arizona Geological Society. We have some questions in the chat. Do you see them there? Do you want me to get them open for you, or can you?
I can try. Let me see.
All right. And then we can open up after that, we can open up and let people direct their questions at you or at one of your colleagues or one of your co-authors.
So is the first one any red beryl in Arizona? Is that the first question? I guess that's the first one I see. So
yes, that is the first one.
We have beryl, we have aquamarine, and we have white and blue and green, and I've never seen any red beryl, no. But we have those rhyolite rocks. We have the topaz, the garnets, and the things the red beryl occurs with. So, it's possible. I'm sorry. Oh, are the maps? Where's the next question? Did I lose my questions?
Yeah, the next question is about mapped areas available as a map package on GIS.
Oh, yeah, there it is. These map data, map package on GIS, if someone purchased the book. I have no idea about that. I think that Stan and Jan will have those maps. Is Stan or Jan on somewhere?
Yeah, I'm here. This is Jan.
Can you answer
Yeah.
that question?
They're not available as a ArcGIS right now. I guess you would just have to scan them from the book and then import them into GIS. The roads and the mountain range topography is in there, so might be possible to get them. Now, I'm working on the more detailed county maps showing the location of the various mines, but that's going to take another year or so.
Okay, great. Okay. Let's see, where are we? Corey says, have they been advertised? Yeah, oh, I think they've tried real hard to the University of Arizona Press, you know, and I have no idea how the sales are going. I mean, we would have liked to, of course, had the coming out at the Tucson show, but hopefully they'll be set up there next, excuse me, hopefully the press will set up there next year to sell them to people.
That may be the last question in the
I think it is.
chat. So if people would like to unmute themselves and address a question to Ray or his co-authors here, I think you can feel free to do so.
I just found, this is Corey, just following up on my question. It seems like there's a lot of little possibilities for doing little, you know, little short media things about minerals in Arizona, just like little segment and advertise our museums and minerals. I don't know who would do that, but you know, minerals are such an important tourist draw to Arizona.
Yeah, well, you know, of course, the University of Arizona, I mean, they have the press and they have the museum in Tucson, and they're trying to get the museum in Phoenix going. So, you know, I would think that they would be the people that would really like to be able to expand that, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Ray, there's another question in the chat asking if they're collecting trips and who organizes them.
Well, you have to, no, well, there's, I don't know how many, there are a dozen mineral clubs around the state. The Mineralogical Society of Arizona in Phoenix are, yeah, they have trips almost to the Tucson Gem and Mineral Club. You can join, they have trips. Apache Junction has a club, they have trips. Yeah, they're all over. I think there's I can't tell you, just go online and look. There's a website that has all the different rock clubs in the state. And I think you could find, you know, there's one in Sholo there. I mean, they're everywhere. And almost all of them have regular trips. So you'd have to find the one closest to where you lived, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? Well, I'll ask one since I'm on here now, and I'll ask this of Stan and of Jan. Do you guys you've sort of revisited the mineral districts across the state in all 15 counties? What was the approach, the philosophy in bringing these back and looking at these and revisiting them and coming up with a whole new suite of maps?
You want to take that one, Jan?
Well,
I think Ray wanted them to do it because I didn't like what was in the last edition.
right.
Well, that's
I mean,
a
there were those
motivator.
funny little ones in there, and I'm
Right.
thinking, you know, those are terrible. We need new ones. I mean, to me, those maps are maybe the best part of this book. I mean, the minerals are great, but those maps are incredible. But
Yeah.
go ahead. Jan, I don't know. I mean, you guys have probably already thought about doing it.
Well, since 1983, I mean, it's now almost 2023. So we're looking at almost 50 years of,
40.
yeah, 40, where incredible amounts of new data have come in terms of age dates, new minerals, et cetera, reshapes of the geography of the districts. And it was high time to basically, this was, so Ray's request provided a great excuse to go back and take a new look at the whole thing. So, and it resulted in probably we split, how many did we have in the 83 one? I think we probably added several hundred more new districts in terms of breaking out existing stuff or adding new ones.
Yeah,
So
what we found was that a lot of the old mining districts had some deposits that were 70 million years, some deposits that were cross-cutting that were 20 million years, and it just makes it easier to understand the geology if you separate out the different time periods, instead of just lumping everything in one mountain range as one district. By separating them by the intrusion, the related intrusion, then you have a better chance of figuring out where the whole district is and what, you know, where you could find more ore deposits, really. So what our philosophy was is we split it if there was a different Pluton, say, that differed by more than, say, 5 to 10 million years different. Then if it was a separate cupola of a Pluton, for example, in the Globe Miami area, you know, there's the Globe Miami deposits, and then there's Copper Cities, and there's Pinto Valley. And before, those all would have been lumped together. But since they're separate cupolas, separate intrusions, different by about 2 to 4 million years, we separated them.
Okay.
I can add a little bit to that. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
One sort of crazy new addition is the concept of the UDH system. And that's ultra deep hydrothermal. And deposits like you find in these actinolite lenses that are after alteration of ultramafics in the Orcopius schist, which is the lowest structural rock in Arizona, formed by that process. And also that process is related ultimately to the formation of hydrothermal oil systems, which is extremely controversial in the business now, but we've come up with ways of, I think in the next few years, you're going to see a lot of momentum develop for that approach. So we just threw that in there, and you can argue about it or not.
The other thing we did too is that we added some industrial minerals districts.
Oh, good.
So those are not necessarily related to an igneous intrusion. They may be a clay deposit, you know, any other type of deposit. So we didn't get all of the industrial minerals, but we got quite a few of them thanks to Ted Ide publications.
Yeah, so basically this is a grab bag of anything that may or may not produce a mineral specimen, not just igneous rocks. There's a lot more going on than that on those maps. And you can just plow your way through our long explanation of what that is. Good luck.
There's a tremendous, unbelievable amount of data in there. And, you know, but one person might only need to find one district and one list of minerals or elements, or, you know, I mean, the point is it can have meaning at a variety of levels, you know. I mean,
Right.
A lot of people might find it overwhelming at first when they look at it, but I think if they take it real slow and sort of search specifically, if they have a specific thing they're searching for, to me, it's just amazing, you know.
Well, this is clearly, it's been a labor of love for for you and your co-authors, Ray, to pull this together. And it seems like a really important mineral product to get out to get out here in Arizona for a number of different reasons, including the tourism that Corey talked about
It
earlier.
covers a really wide range, yeah, from, you know, the average lapidary guy to a very sophisticated exploration geologist, I think, seriously, yeah.
Well, if
Very
I
good.
might add to that, one more comment. All of us authors have seen a lot of different mineralogy books over the years. And what certainly one of my goals with my contribution to the book was to unify the natural history of mineralogy with the natural history of geology. And I think this book sets a lot of precedents in that regard. And I think future mineralogy books might do well to follow some of those leads.
Very good. Are there other questions from those of us, from those of you who've been following along?
I see there's one there that says, do you list specific site locations with maps for specific minerals? Well, what you would have to do is if you look at Raleigh mine, you see a list of minerals that you can find the minerals there, and then you can find that specific painted rock district. We don't have minerals specifically on the map, but or you can go through those tables and you can find minerals listed for different ages and different, you know, localities. There's not, if you want a map that says here's where you go to find wolfenite, there's not a map exactly like that. It's really there, but you'd have to search and work it out, you know.
Well, what is there are a lot of the references that you can go to. For example, the 79 mine references tell you a lot about very specific locations in the mine for the minerals that are known.
Mhm.
So this thing is really just sort of a detailed introduction to the mineralogy of Arizona.
So we should all wait for the next book, Stan.
Good luck. You and I are retiring.
Well, if there are no other questions, Ray, we should probably let you go. And I want to thank you and also Jan and Stan for stepping up and chatting a little bit about this and for making this presentation to the society and to some of its guests.
All right, no, glad to do it. Hopefully I'll see lots of people there on the 25th.
I'm sure you sold a bunch of books tonight. I'll be down there.
All right, thank you.
You better buy one.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for organizing all this, Mike. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Good night, all.